What's going on, everyone? So the Dallas Mavericks are officially eliminated from play-in contention. Not just the playoffs, but being in the play-in altogether. The Dallas Mavericks ended up sitting pretty much everybody that was worth playing. Luka only played the first quarter. Kyrie sat. Christian Wood sat. Basically everybody, right? They packed it in favor for a more favorable draft pick. This is quite the turnaround, right? At the trade deadline, the Dallas Mavericks were in the 4th seed. By March 1st, they were the 7th seed. April 1st, they were the 11th seed, and now they are officially eliminated. And the Dallas Mavericks, they have hopes that, hey, they can keep this team intact. They can keep Kyrie, they can keep Luka, and put the pieces around them that they need to be successful. They chose to keep their draft pick and try to get the best pick possible for maybe a potential trade in the offseason to kind of retool and revamp this roster, maybe add that consistent third guy, or just get a solid piece that they can add next to Luka and Kyrie, maybe even several, and kind of retool this, right? Because this team, they need defense. This team is just atrocious defensively. And between Kyrie and Luka, you have more than enough offense of firepower. You just need a couple guys that can piece in, a couple points here and there, right? You don't need another 30-point a game guy, 25-point a game guy. You can trust that Kyrie and Luka are going to provide most of the scoring punch. You need to just get a bunch of 3-and-D wings. And I'm even surprised that they didn't go get somebody even like a Stanley Johnson who was out there. Stanley Johnson very likely isn't going to provide much on the offensive end, but a sizable defensive wing. That's the kind of stuff that the Dallas Mavericks need to look for. And a lot of people look and try to find and place blame on Kyrie Irving, right? A lot of people, they just need somebody to blame, period. You see it with all fan bases. They always try to pinpoint that one thing that's oh, it's because of this. We were the 4th seed and now you go and trade for Kyrie and now Kyrie is this virus and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the case at all. Kyrie was amazing for Dallas. I mean, he was really good. He was better than Luka most of the time, and the Dallas Mavericks as a whole were actually better with Kyrie as opposed to with Luka. The problem is that you traded all of your defensive pieces to go get Kyrie. Now that you have Kyrie, you're in a position to where you have your 2 stars, you have your 2 core guys, right? Now you're going to have a full offseason. You're going to have a full training camp. You're going to have a full preseason to kind of get those 2 together and put the pieces in place that you need to. Not just that, but the Kyrie trade wasn't just about going and getting Kyrie. It wasn't like Dallas was head over heels in love with Kyrie. There were talks about Dallas being linked to Kyrie in the offseason, and Dallas came out and was absolutely not. We want nothing to do with Kyrie. Fast forward to the trade deadline, all of a sudden they trade for Kyrie. But look at the circumstances, right? There was all this pressure. There was talks about Luka potentially wanting out. You had fans making murals and all kinds of stuff, telling Mark Cuban to get him help, that Luka doesn't have enough help. And not to mention that Luka was just in the Western Conference Finals. And to go from the Western Conference Finals to not even making the play-in is just shocking in and of itself. But again, all this pressure to get Luka a running mate. And then Kyrie becomes available again. They go and get Kyrie. But what they gave up for Kyrie wasn't insane, right? They gave up Finney Smith, which hurt them the most. And that was most apparent and most obvious in that deal to land Kyrie. And that's one of the reasons why their defense has been so bad. But outside of that, they didn't really give up anything except for clear off a bunch of cap space. So even if, let's say, Kyrie does want to leave, or Dallas doesn't want to keep him around, right? You didn't really lose much. You can always work out a sign and trade to try to recoup the assets that you lost in the deal. Because again, you didn't really give up much. And you have a max salary spot that you can now use to go get a max player, which there aren't really many, if at all, in this upcoming offseason. But you could use that money to maybe go get 2 or 3 guys, right? Maybe you could go get several pieces to put around Luka that make more sense. Some higher tier guys. That is something that could very well be the case. But Here's the question. Does Luka want to stick around? And just because you have that salary space doesn't mean you'll get anybody. And even if you do, like let's say you get some solid pieces, right? Let's say you get two quality guys. Does Luka look at those guys and go, yeah, I can win with these guys. I can win with this roster. Or does Luka want out? Luka Doncic being traded is a real thing. It's a real possibility. There's already murmurs that he's unhappy and that he wants out. You see him in press conferences talking about how he's lost his smile and he doesn't really have like this love for the game like he did and all that stuff. And he's even talked about just Dallas and the mistakes that they have made of just unloading Brunson and not paying Brunson and letting him walk. And you would get quite the return in package for Luka. He is one of the better stars and young stars in this league. But here's the thing. Real question is, can Luka play with other stars? Because that's been a big problem. And this was a real test, not only just for the Dallas Mavericks in trading for Kyrie, but for Luka as well, right? Like, Luka wanted help, wanted another star, but he really didn't make any changes or sacrifices. Kyrie made all of them. And Luka, being as ball dominant and ball controlling as he is, and him kind of being the offense, it really begs the question of, is he going to be able to make that change and make that shift if you were to get a quality team? Because he, as talented and gifted as he is, has always played one way. Is he going to be able to switch that and change that? A team like the Knicks, and that's why I have the Knicks on the screen, they make a world of sense, right? Because Brunson's there. They have a really nice core. You could go get a guy like Luka. They have more than enough assets, right? Put a package around with RJ Barrett and 5 or 6 first-round picks, because that's where the starting point is going to be, at least 5 or 6 first-round picks. And then on top of that, get a young, solid player. So, if you can get an RJ Barrett and a couple pieces that you can then add, like maybe a Barrett, a Grimes, a Quickly, and 5 firsts, something crazy like that for Luka, then I think that that's a pretty solid start. Then now you have a nice sort of, rebuilding package that now you can go and put the pieces to put the pieces that you need together to start building a nice young core for the future. I'm not saying that Dallas would or wants to trade Luka, but it's not something that is incredibly far-fetched. It's not something that I would, put past Luka requesting or demanding a trade, and the Dallas Mavericks end up eventually caving and putting it in. And look, the Knicks are just an example. There are several teams that could probably put together a really nice package, right? Would the Warriors even want to, kind of throw their hat in the ring, right? Maybe with like a Jordan Poole, Kuminga, Moody. You could throw in, they have several first-round picks. You have a lot of teams out there that have assets, the Jazz even, that all have like pieces to put together. Like, could the Jazz go and trade for Luka? Wouldn't Lauri Markkanen? He could be a great running mate for Luka. That's a guy that efficient, long type of wing, like that could be something to watch out for. And then Kyrie Irving, right? Does Kyrie Irving want to stay? We already got the reports that Kyrie wants to test free agency and that he wants to look at free agency. Now, there's not really options in free agency. Like, there's not really, like, all the teams that have money that could sign Kyrie, one, probably wouldn't want to sign Kyrie because they're all rebuilding teams. And 2, Kyrie probably wouldn't want to go to. Like, does Kyrie want to go to the Pacers or Detroit or the Spurs or something like that? And would any of those teams actually want Kyrie, considering most of those teams already have guys locked up? Like, maybe the Pacers make a little sense, right? Like, because if you think of the Pacers, they have Tyrese Halliburton. You pair him next to Kyrie, that could be pretty solid with Miles Turner and then the core that they have. That could be something to look at. But you know that the Lakers is going to be a real thing, right? Kyrie wants to be a Laker. That hasn't changed. The only reason he wasn't is because the Nets refused to trade him to the Lakers. So do they work out a sign and trade? That's a real possibility. As a Laker fan, I I don't mind Kyrie. I just don't want the Lakers to lose the depth to go get Kyrie. But would Dallas take something of like a D'Angelo Russell and like a Malik Beasley that gives Luka, another sort of, two in D'Lo, who's been great off the ball. He's been really good off the ball this season. That could be a guy that could maybe fit better next to Luka, and then also get a sharpshooter. He's a streaky shooter, but still a sharpshooter, and Malik Beasley, and you recoup the first round picks that you lost in the original trade, and then some. Like, the Lakers will give you all the picks you want. Lakers would probably give them both firsts, and they have like 3 or 4 seconds that they could trade. Lakers would probably give you all of that. Take on D'Lo. That could be your second star next to Luka, or whatever you classify D'Lo as. And then top of that, get a Malik Beasley who can be a nice setup piece, because that's what Dallas loves to do, put shooters around Luka. Maybe that could be something that they work out, but we'll see what happens with him. Regardless, this just, again, it's not working, but how much of it is just they need time to really learn each other, right? I think if you're Dallas, it's in your best interest to play this out, right? You can always trade Kyrie to the Lakers around the trade deadline, right? Like, the Lakers are going to want Kyrie for as long as, Kyrie randomly becomes available. So, I mean, if you're Dallas, do you try to put the best team around Luka and Kyrie as you can? Put a bunch of defensive guys around them. Get a shot blocking center. You don't need a center that can really shoot a bunch. Just a nice little shot blocking center. Even like a guy like Biyombo, right? Like, that's a guy that could just block shots and man the middle. You don't need some elite guy. Just a guy that can be in the dunker spot, be a lob threat, and block shots and protect the paint. Get somebody like that. Get a couple defensive, sizable wings. And like I said, like a Stanley Johnson. If they could figure out a way to get like a Jeremy Grant too, that would be really nice, right? 6'8", 6'9", play both forward spots. They need pieces like that. Put that on this team with Kyrie and Luka, and now you're in a position to maybe really get back to the Western Conference Finals and maybe even come out the West, because you have enough firepower in Luka and Kyrie. It's just getting all the pieces and all the structure around those two, and then see where it goes from there. See if you can kind of build, and these two can kind of build on each other to put themselves in a position to have success. If not, you look to trade Kyrie. I think that there'll always be somebody that's going to take him or take a chance on him, especially with the way he played with Dallas during this stretch. And if he continues to play that way and kind of remains a model citizen, somebody will say, okay, let's take a chance on Kyrie. You'll probably get that. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. What do you think? Do you think that they should stick with this team? Do you think they should trade Luka? They should keep Luka? Do you think they should trade Kyrie, keep Kyrie? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know.